Hello everybody! Back to work. Alright, everybody, welcome to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas. I'm the guy who does all this bullshit you see here. And today we're gonna be coloring Battletoads. We're gonna continue coloring this. Part 1 is up on the YouTube. It's up on the YouTube. Also, I want to bring up to you, let's go take a look at that 1 second. You can go see part 1. Give myself a little bit of a promo here. If I can just have my shit together before I start these things. Here we go. So part 1 is right on the YouTube channel, right here. If you want to see how I got this far, Kyle and Brandon were both on the stream. It's a lot of fun. Also, you should know that this has been brought to you by ShopSketchCraft.com. ShopSketchCraft.com is my little store on the internet where I put up random art that I tend to draw. Sometimes I do limited prints. I just put up 3 original pieces, original line art with the prints. Like here's one of Harry Potter, Voldemort right here that I did live here on the YouTube. There's a speed paint up of that as well. You can see this is for the physical arts, including a color print. So if you want to get it, there's only one available, folks. It's gonna go. And it's going to go sometime. So if you like to get a piece of art, help support the cast, you can do that. You can also support the cast by just checking out the speed paint. Oh my fucking god, look at that. Look, you go right here. Oh, I don't turn on my thing. But you can see we did a whole speed paint with audio commentary, as well as real-time videos are up on the stream. If you would like to check them out and see everything in real time, you can sit through or wade through 4 hours. 4 whole hours of Voldemort coloring, amongst other stuff. ShopSketchCraft.com. Check it out. Pooh, let's get busy. So, chat window is open. Chat window's open. And I'm going to get to work because I got like 4 hours, maybe 5 tops, to work here. Can I explain how I stream art on YouTube? Yes, I just use YouTube's live streaming option and just select my desktop. You're going to need a good CPU. I know that much. Or a webcam. I have a webcam that's taped to my desk that faces down. So that's how I do that as well. I'll come over here and touch up some of the stuff I worked on last night. Hello, potato. What graphics tablet do I use or like the most? I like my Cintiq. It's not really a tablet, it's a monitor hooked up to my PC. I have an iPad Pro, which hopefully I'll get to making that video next week. I am officially moving from California in 3 weeks or so. So it's going to cut into some of my streaming for a while. I'm moving from California to the land of mega potatoes, Idaho. Yeah, can you believe it? of all places. So, but I do have an iPad Pro. I will get around to making that video sometime soon, but I do ultimately prefer the Cintiq. You can't get around not using a desktop. But for concepting and sketching, the iPad Pro is pretty good. What's Cintiq? This is the 22. I've owned the 18. I prefer when they used, but they don't make it anymore, so I got the 22. The 13 is too. The color gamut's no good. So this is probably a little too large, but they don't make a 20. Sorry, they had a 20, not an 8. They had 20. The 20 was the best for me. But now I gotta use whatever they leave me. No problem. Feel free to ask questions. I got nothing else to do. Pretty good. Getting ready to move soon. I got the word. My wife got a new job, so I've been in the same studio for almost 12 years now. So what that really means is that I definitely don't have to get a real job now. Drawing digitally since 2008. I actually started drawing digitally because I had carpal tunnel. And my drawing digitally, I was able to back engineer into my art. And so now I tend to draw it like, uh, tend to draw with pens and pencils and stuff now, like versus just straight pencil. Yeah, had some pretty bad carpal tunnel for a while. You know, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking I should have made that script. I gotta fix something. Mm, where is it? I'm gonna redo that. But I do a mixture now. I do traditional, digital, whatever I need to do. I don't prefer to just lean on any one or the other. Now, for coloring something like this, I'm not coloring this with Copic markers and color pencil. It just, I mean, it would be kind of fun, like a coloring book, but not for professional shit. Like this requires digital colors. Even this piece was half drawn traditionally, half drawn digitally, and then inked digitally. So, sort of depends. Oh, thank you. Yeah, hey man, like I said, with that Sky Robertson thing, dude, just you could probably find it on the internet, bro. But it's worth the purchase. You know, you can really just study the first 5 chapters for a couple years. As far as I'm concerned. Not a lot of people might find that fun, but it will make a difference. Edit, transform, warp. I mean, it's not going to give you superpowers, but you know. I want that to be bigger. It's too small right now. Do you have a special media page? Yeah, Facebook. There are links right on the YouTube channel, so if you go to my channel on YouTube, you can see right here, there's links to my store, my Instagram, my Twitter, my DeviantArt, and oh, my Facebook link isn't there. I gotta fix that. Edit links. Let's add Facebook SketchCraft dot net. Done. There we go. Oh shucks. Oh, look at that. Oh, I see. Because I gotta go fix SketchCraft.net. So it forces SketchCraft Live. Let me fix that. But they're all right here. You can see the Instagram page. I post all the time. Where do I get my inspirations from? Probably experience. And, you know, you stick with the stuff long enough, you start to form your own opinions about things. You know, you don't really need to wonder what to do next. So, like I knew I was going to do a Battletoads piece because I'm a big fan of the arcade game. So I wanted the arcade game front and center. Not a lot of people actually ever played it. It kind of came out at the tail end of Battletoads, like '97, like, and the death of arcades and shit. You know. So it's the best Battletoads game, honestly. Do you know how to make two layers into one layer in Photoshop? Yeah, just merge down, Control J, or Control E. See, Control E, or Apple E if you're on a Mac. I've used both. No problem. No, I don't find them annoying. What I find annoying is when I work with people like Brandon and I give them these answers and they write them down and they still don't memorize them. That I find annoying. Like, I feel Brandon doesn't really try. He would argue the difference, but I think he's an incredibly, like, he's kind of a jock. He's incredibly lazy when it comes to memorization. And he can memorize a million sports stats, but he can't memorize how to open and close a Photoshop file. Ridiculous. So, no, I don't mind answering questions. I mind when, people that I come to rely on to do work, like him specifically, like with that, because I actually got him a job in a graphic art department once, and he, I gave him these lessons, and he just, the fact that he still doesn't know it pisses me off to no end. I don't find any questions about art that annoying. Now there's a big difference again between people who have questions and people that I work with. I expect my coworkers to be at my level, of understanding. We all have our strengths in art and design. That's different. But in terms of just technical understanding, I do expect the people I work with to be proficient in shit that I teach them how to do. So that's why I give that guy a ton of shit. Like I'm pretty certain Tazy plays, Tazzy plays will remember what I just said, weeks from now. But Brandon wouldn't. And you know why that is? Because he doesn't apply himself. But, you know, there are ways to get to him. He doesn't like public shaming, so that's why I razz him here. Seems to work. My favorite is when his wife finds out he doesn't know this stuff and then she gets to clown him. You don't know? Like she clowned him about not knowing how to, he claims he didn't know how to like open he knew how to open files, control O. He didn't know how to do that. He didn't even know select all, you know, how to copy. Because he doesn't like to use the shortcut keys. He wants to just use all the what do you call it? All the tabs. So you should see him when he looked at. That's why I said when he looked at the keyboard, he was looking around it like he'd never seen a control button before. I was like, "Are you kidding me, dude?" He's like, "Well, you move so fast." I'm like, "I don't even move my fast, Brandon. You're looking at my hand that's drawing while my left hand's on the keyboard. Like I'm not a type. Like even I don't claim to be some like genius typist too. Like I mean I write, I don't type. I'm kind of dyslexic. So like if I can understand this shit, then he can. It's not that hard. I had no one helping me. So now if I found questions annoying, I just wouldn't answer them. I mean, I don't get artists that do these channels and then don't want to answer. I mean, that I don't get. They just want people to tell them how great they are. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for them. I had one guy accuse that of me once. You just want people to say how great you are. I'm like, well, where do you get that from? You know? He's like, all you do is post art. I'm like, I had the podcast for 4 years. I'm like, you obviously don't know shit. Guy was just a little butthurt. think it was because Josh didn't send him his shit, and then when he was sending, he had sent his shit, or he'd got them. I finally got Josh to ship stuff out, and then the guy like threw a fit, even though he got his stuff, you know. And I was like, then he gets throwing me under the bus. It was a fun time. So I don't fuck around with orders, man. Uh, I try not to do wrong. I just try to show where they need to improve. You know, I mean, they could fight it all they want. It doesn't change my life one bit. You know, it's like you don't have to agree with me, but I guarantee you're not going to see incremental improvements. I mean, you're just not. You might get, you might have drawn something kind of better, but how many images did you have to have open? How many sources of reference art did you have to look at to get there? You know, can you do it on command? If you had a job, can you innovate? Can you do more than just recreate shit? Can you actually come up with ideas? What do you have to bring to the table? Because, you know, when you sit in on a meeting with an art director, you have to present consistently, consistent ideas. The idea machine, you know. And I've always developed that part of myself, like always developing the what to do next, where to go next, you know. Never the sit back and hope someone figures out my career for me option. So if people can't even take critique, I mean, like that's the easiest thing there is to do, to get an assessment of what, you know, where I'm at with what I'm trying to do. If you can't even accept that, then I mean, I almost feel sorry for him at that point because it is going to be an almost impossible hill to climb. You know, what's up, Will? I mean, I've been in art departments where fellow artists won't take critique from art director. They just fight it, and I'm like, guys, he signs your paychecks. Like he or she signs your paychecks. So fighting this person is not going to help any help you in any way. You know, it's just uncomfortable to be in those meetings. You know, but I recognize that experience is unique amongst a lot of people. Even a lot of artists, you know, they work from home or they don't have that hindsight. You know. Like I told Brandon once, I'm like, you will not be getting better. This was years ago, and he was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna laugh every year if you don't do these things. And I could see he would like he kind of did them once. Like he'd sit down for a day or two, or maybe for like a week and kind of like practice, and then go back to drawing pictures of Spider-Man or Hulk or whatever the fuck else, you know. And I'm like, you don't get it, dude. Like you have a long road ahead of you, and if you do not solve these fundamental problems, you know, and not understanding construction and perspective is a fundamental problem. That's not like a choice. So, you know, you will never be able to achieve. And I asked him, what do you want to achieve? You want fame and fortune or good art? He's like, well, I want good art. I'm like, because if you want fame and fortune, don't be a fucking artist, you know? But, you know, if you want to produce good art, you know, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to be the next Rosetta, but you can be pretty consistent. But the trade-off is that he has to do a lot of grunt work. So I get my money's worth out of it, you know? Equivalent exchange. Always something for something. Yes, I do. If you send me an email to rob@sketchcraft.com with a couple examples and what you're trying to do, I'll make a video. I got one coming Monday night next week, and I can probably work in one for the following Tuesday night. I mean, the next Tuesday, the day after, next Monday. Just make certain you're specific in what you're trying to do. Otherwise, it cannot Yeah. Yeah, could you just DM you on this? Not really, because this computer is not hooked up to emails or anything that viruses can be sent to me. So I need it sent to my email so I can put it on my Dropbox. I have walls. Hmm. Where the idea for drawing plushies come from? Ever since I was a kid, man. Like when I was a kid, I used to love grappling hook games. Those claws. And so I remember back in so uh, I used to draw, like if I draw Batman as a kid, I would put like a little Robin toy and shit, because action figures and stuff. And then when I eventually got to Play Magazine, I tried doing a whole thing with it, where we could just work plushies in, and it was a little too ahead of my time in that respect. I even tried to do a grappling hook piece, like a claw game piece for like it was gonna be this piece of art that would be in front of all the previews or like the game reviews. So it was just a way to work in extra characters without having to draw a ton of extra characters. So, but I mean, I got high school art. I got to see if I can dig up. So a lot of my shit got stolen, but I got stuff that I used to draw all these little versions of characters and little dolls, and you know, chicks always thought I was cute. Guys were like, "Is that a toy?" I'm like, "Yeah." But when I'd go to like, I didn't own shit, but I'd go to friends' houses. They'd have the action figures lined up and the little like Nintendo toys, and so my mom used to fucking make me, if I wanted Superman, she'd make me a Superman. I guess you could call it plushie. It was like stuffing, where she'd take a cutout of Superman, make a front and back, and sew it together. So maybe that's where it kind of comes from, really. I hadn't really thought about it till now. Yeah, I think, people's collections of stuff are just as important as the game itself, right? Right. So like that. You listen to music? Sometimes I listen to podcasts. I can't stream it because, YouTube. A lot of times I listen to like audiobooks. Um, right now I'm just sort of sitting here. I've had to work in art departments where you can't listen to anything or even have headphones on, so, that whole I need music to become a good artist thing or get in the groove, like went right out the window. I've worked in some pretty horrible art departments. Slave like almost, I mean, not nearly as bad as what you see in China, but, pretty close. Like if they could have gotten away with making us live there, um, then they would have done it. I had ones where they decided they were going to make it so okay, their music can be played, but it had to be on the shared radio, and so they just play this hardcore gangster rap, and the shit was right over my desk, and they would blast it so everyone could hear. So I just sat there and like being tortured by this music that, I mean, whatever, dude. I just didn't need it blasting in my ear. I actually had to bring in earmuffs, earplugs. It was like ones for gunshots, so I didn't have to hear it. Usually at night, I'll listen to music when I don't want to get too tired. But I have to be careful, that music you put on the wrong song, you can start moving way too fast and not paying attention. Yeah. Plus, I don't listen to a lot of music. We'll get this mouse next. Just piece by piece. Mhm. A lot of times I'll just leave a movie in on repeat, like Rounders. Drives Brandon nuts. Used to drive my wife crazy because I used to just leave the DVDs on the menu, so it would just repeat. I'll tell you when I do listen to music is when I have to like do the game pages, like lay in screens. It's so repetitive and I want to move super fast, so I have this few songs from the Born Identity that just loop over and over and over. That I started when I was working on GameFam. I'll deal with specularity when I get to that. Alright, so I got Billy Lee and the Shadow Dude. And then do some, the moon. And then we got some adjustments on some of the blacks. And then another shadow pass. So I'm definitely going to be streaming for another 90 minutes. Then I got to head out to dinner. Got to say goodbye to a lot of my friends before I skip town. Give me a second. Yeah, I'm gonna have sushi one last time before I head up to the great north, you know? At least decent sushi. Alright, so let's get these two dudes laid out. Just keep making good art, man. You know, and putting it out there, and people will start to follow you. Start with the art, be consistent, give it years. If you want overnight success, I can't help you because I don't even have that. You know, I told people 100 times. Like one guy I knew only had like I only have like 100 subs. I'm like I would have killed for 100 people in high school to follow me on any level. So you know, doesn't matter how many subs you have. Only 10% of your audience engages anyway. So just focus on great art. What you need are the people who are actually a fan of what you're doing to follow you. Numbers don't mean shit. You know, if this just that's why I don't get the concept of buying. Like people would pay for people to give them subs. I don't even get that shit. It's like if those people aren't engaged with you, how are you supposed to sell art? Time in, dude. You know, I've made a lot of shitty art. I can tell you that much. You know, when I get the new studio set up, I think one of the first things I'm gonna do is make a video on all my old art because I'll actually have everything unpacked. So may as well. However long it takes to get my internet set up. So I used to work in magazines, you know, and back in the day, back in the day, yeah, it's getting there, isn't it? You know, they had subscription rates, but those subscription rates were basically handed out for free, and they would use those subscriptions to get ads, but they weren't really indicative of the people who were gonna buy things. So that's why it all fell apart when the recession hit. And now it's just turned into the internet. So they call it e-com. And you know, everything I do here is a little bit of everything too. It's not just drawing. Like this is coloring. Plus there's podcasts. Plus there's tips. Plus there's audio commentaries. Plus there's takes time. Every now and then, you get someone that makes it big with doing relatively little, but they're the exception, not the rule. How to get a job as an artist? Do you have any tips on how to get a job as an artist these days? It only seems like you get a job if you have a degree from universities. Well, I have a degree. My advice would be start working on a degree at a community college and pay for it as you go. In the meantime, as an artist, it's all based down to your portfolio and what you can actually do. Even though a lot of them will say preferred this, preferred that, at the end of the day, if you can do the job, they'll hire you. So it's largely irrelevant. Especially when it comes to like illustration. Illustration, a degree means nothing. Now, if you're talking about art department, a lot of these days, man, like artist is a very loose term. If you apply for graphic artist, that is usually code word for web development, which means you need to know a lot of HTML5 or CSS, JavaScript. If you're talking about getting a job as a comic artist, you don't need any degree for that. You just need to be able to draw well, draw fast, meet deadlines, and network. It's who you know. It's not. You know, in terms of like Hollywood, if you want to work in the movies, you got to move to LA. Good luck with that. I always tell people the two things in the world I thought made me or would make me a real artist would be one, going to art school, and two, getting a job being an artist full time. And the two things in the world that made me never want to be an artist were when I went to art school and then got a job being an artist full time. Like working in art departments creatively sucked the living hell out of me. You know, just did. If I had a chance to do it all over again, I would probably have just kept my job at a copy shop and just worked on self-producing my own comics. But if you want to work for Marvel and DC, you don't have to do any of that stuff. As for getting a job like in a game studio or something, you need to know 3D. 3D, something technical. No one's going to hire you just to be concept artist guy. Even if you're a concept artist, that generally means you're painting your own models, you're block modeling, you're doing modeling work, you're doing texturing work, you're doing lighting work. Or you need to move to the Philippines or some third world country because they're not going to pay you for shit. You know? So I'm not looking to be a full-time paid artist unless I got some opportunity somewhere that was really cool, but I doubt that's ever going to happen. I've I've actually gotten out of that game. I've gone to just producing my own stuff. I spent the last 10 years chasing the industry, and so now I'm going to spend the next 10 years doing whatever the hell I want. Not to say it can't be done, just my experience, you know. I don't It's funny. I'm a 37-year-old man, so I don't speak to or agree with the 40-year-old comic book guy who's trying to buy the 900th version of Harley Quinn or Flashpoint in a comic shop. Like that doesn't mean anything to me, you know? I don't relate to it. Where everyone's drawn basically like, an Alex Ross character or Stephen Hughes or sorry, Adam Hughes or Stephen Hughes, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I like fun art, man. And what I tend to do gets put in the you could draw the kids book column, which is totally out of sync with the audiences, but in comics, everyone wants you to, super CG backgrounds, super realistic people. So, and I'm not doing modeling because I'll get carpal tunnel. I already went through that in college and even post college. Button clicking with mice and stuff don't make any sense to me. I don't know how to model I tried modeling with a pen. I'm just not good at it. I'm made to do one thing, and this is what I'm doing right here. So, But I did do graphic art. For a time there was a time you could do t-shirts, but that's going away. Like now t-shirts are largely cut and sew, mainstream licensing. There's some people that still do designs, but it's very much like being a tattoo artist, you know, and does not really speak to like building my ability to draw so much as my ability to copy and reproduce, you know. So that's why I'm moving out of California so I can just keep on affording to do this stuff. Moving, moving in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere around there. Even if you have a degree, it's no guarantee you actually know the fucking knowledge. I mean, I don't know how many kids I know took the perspective class in art school and yet still don't understand basic perspective and construction, you know? But in Sweden, I don't know. I mean, I would just start building stuff, man. Like making and creating things, and if if you want to work in games, just make a demo and show the demo off. You don't have to sell the shit. That demo can get you a job, you know, with the studio. If it's movies, make an animation. These days, people like to see what you can do, and then put that in front of people, who are going to cut checks. They're going to hire talent before they hire a degree. Trust me on that one. That degree shit's just an excuse to trap people into $40,000 or worth of student loans. And I paid my shit off. Practically bankrupted me to do it, but try to figure out what you want to do and only, really work toward that. Like I said, if you want to work in games, drawing illustrations all day of people, although it's great for personal development, isn't going to get you a job in games. Same with comics and anything else. These people don't have imaginations, man. They don't look at what you can do and think you could do something else. So you have to be very specific, and then you'll start building multiple portfolios. A portfolio for this kind of job, a portfolio for that kind of job. Then they're always going to want to see what else you can do. Then you show them all this other stuff you can do too. And being a more well-rounded artist helps. It gives them more options of things you can do, right? Makes you more marketable. But start with zeroing in on the job you want. And my advice is to be very specific. I know when I was in college, they told me, ignore specificity. And I'm like, if I had just been very specific with what I was trying to do from the get, on the weekends, branch out into other shit. That's what I always say. But if you're going for a job, be specific. Because I've shown people, you know, in comics, t-shirt work, and vice versa. This gets confusing. You want to be a colorist? If you want to illustrate comics, a great way to get in is start being a colorist. This way you at least make friends with editors and then constantly put your pencils in front of them. But if you don't understand color and you hate it, don't fucking do it because, you know, if you want to just be an illustrator, then just keep doing that. Submitting pages. They don't give a shit about covers and pinups like this right here. Submit sequential artwork, you know, consistently. You know, and give yourself like, you know, specific goals. I want to, you know, have this published or work here, get this, you know, get something published in some way, shape, or form, and then branch out from there in terms of like how much you're going to get paid to do that because a lot of shit just don't pay much, especially when you're starting out. I wish that were untrue, but every year it gets a little bleaker. So I've built this whole thing because I can do better online than I can with publishers. But that's not true for everybody. Yeah. I hope they help. The other thing is to be consistent and persistent. Know when to say no. I think that's the hardest part. Even when you're starting out, there are some things you probably should never do. You know, what they are, I don't know. Like for my money, I just don't do t-shirt art anymore. Just don't do it. Don't care what they offer me. It's a quagmire. Sitting at con and our side is a good place to find connections. Not anymore, it isn't. Nope. That's how I used to get my work. I don't know how it is in Europe, but in America, like I used to go to cons and I'd buy a table and I'd get business cards. And that's how I got my job at Play. I got into comics. These days, editors don't go to cons. If anything, they're at a booth and they never go to Artist Alley. Artist Alley is a place where people just sell copious amounts of fan art. Which, hey, I get. I'm there too, right? But it's not really a place they go to seek talent. So, nope, not anymore. I haven't had a business card from one professional at Artist Alley since 2008. So, yeah, cons are weird now, man. I get more job offers just from being on the internet. Type of target market? There's no such thing as a target market in terms of comics, man. I worked in licensing for the longest time. I've seen everyone try to predict what the target market is. And I've gone to cons doing the exact opposite of everyone else and done just well. The best thing you can do is be you. And when you get a response from people, do more of that and then continue to experiment. I really have a problem with people going to cons and trying to, like, you know, you gotta have a Harley Quinn and you gotta have a Joker and you gotta have, like all that shit. It doesn't mean anything, man. Makes things worse. That's how everyone looks the same. And you gotta have a One Punch Man and you gotta have some Stranger Things because that was big and you gotta have some Game of Thrones. Draw the kind of shit you enjoy drawing, you know. And do yourself a favor. Take as many commissions as you can before you go so the table's paid for. Don't trust any promoter to promote the show properly. Because I bet you turned 20. You got a long way to go, William. Just find a job and then come home and work as an artist. You know, unless you're a genius, you're not gonna be drawing well at 20. I didn't. I was in the army. Yeah, but okay, I can't convince you to do anything with your life, so I'm not the guy to talk to. But I can tell you a job in which you go, you earn a paycheck, and you leave the job there is the perfect job for a person who's trying to grow as an artist. They're not supposed to be a job that leads to a career, you know? But if you want to solve all your problems, I'm the last guy you should talk to. I have had the worst career of any artist I know. As for age groups, I don't even know what that means. How many people are going to cons? There's no consistent. Here's the thing. I know you're fighting me, Core. I'm just saying there is no consistent demographic that goes to a con. Not even by state, not even by con. Every con. I remember Comic Con 1 year changed when Twilight came out. Then it was like a grip of women and girls showed up. Everyone was like, "What the fuck happened to Comic Con?" Like, there's no demographic. There is nothing. If they knew, then comics wouldn't be struggling to sell. I mean, I've sat in meetings, man. I've listened to editors and publishers and licensors try to figure all this stuff out. As an artist, you should never be playing to a market. As an artist, you should be learning to develop, your art and what you have to say. But if you want consistent work, man, the only thing I can find, like they said, Toby says, learn how to code. Being an artist, man, it's a whole nother thing, dude. Yeah. It's something you should always be doing. But in terms of like the full time, this is all I make doing it. I mean, how many places are there? And the ones that there are, a lot of times those guys are lying about how good they have it. I can tell you there's plenty of artists who put up a big game on Facebook, but I happen to know they have plumbing jobs. They don't mention it because they think it's like you know, a letdown, a put down. I mean, I've been fortunate in that I've saved a grip of money. I don't have kids, you know, and my wife makes a decent amount of money to cover the back end, you know. But I also, like you see, I sell everything, dude. you know. And if you don't like to learn, you should never be an artist because that don't stop. I tried that once back in 2009. I made this commitment, no learning in 2009. That went over really bad. Next year was 2010. That was the year I had to make Game Fan. I had to learn how to make a game magazine. If you're gonna learn something, find a way to integrate. If you want to learn how to make your art, learn how to do some coding, but a way to like make a game or something. I don't fucking know, man. I know what I would do for me if I could go back 10 years, given what we have now. I know a lot of artists don't even want to market themselves. I don't like marketing myself. I just put myself out there. I mean, market yourself. But I can't help people in terms of being employed full time because I self-employ myself. You know, and I think the market is stacked against people living in first world countries when it comes to producing art. They're going further and further out to Argentina, anywhere where they can pay the least amount of money. The Philippines. They can go, well, we have a budget of $60 a page complete. That's the reality, you know, in comics. Given those options, I've gone my own way, you know. Alrighty. So first things first. But if you're feeling frustrated, don't worry, man. You're 20. You got plenty of years to feel frustrated. You know. Welcome to being an artist. Yay! You know, you create despite all of it. Nothing should be getting in the way of you making things. Did I just? Okay, no, I did. Well, getting paid won't help you. Something else too, man. Getting paid don't give you. How do I understand it? Being paid to do something doesn't give you the motivation to complete it. Just so you know. Right? Yep, right with you. I tried to learn how to code. My schools weren't interested in it. They wanted me to learn French. I was like, I'd rather just, you know. But now I got the tools that I have, you know, and I got to figure out what to do with them. I always tell people learning how to create is a great side thing. You know, anything you want to do, you want to knit, you want to draw, you want to paint, perfect side business. Perfect. Go on Etsy, sell some stuff, maybe go to a con, seem like a big shot, have a nice positive influence online besides just complaining about politics and Nintendo, you know, or No Man's Sky. Yeah, it's the best I can do for you. Gosh darn it. Yeah. Over here. Hey, what's up, man? What's the longest I worked on a single project? Personal commit. That Star Wars thing I did last Christmas, 70 hours, at least on one piece. Game Cave's the longest. It's 3 years, so it's going on 3 years just to figure out how to fucking make it, which this is going into. And between all the world building, the writing, figuring out how to do everything, and then just getting my life to the point where it all works out. But in terms of one piece, the Star Wars piece, the layout with all the toys, that took 70 hours, probably more. It took Brandon it shouldn't have took him 12 hours because he fucked up when he first did it. I think it probably would have took him closer to like 8, probably 6. It's because Brandon's slow. Probably would have took me 4 or 5 hours. Unfortunately, there's a mental exhaustion by me doing my own flats on pieces that are this complicated. You know, like if it's one character, I'll just do it myself. I don't really want him spending his time on that. But thanks, Akuma. The selection flats, yeah, it took me a couple hours to do the coloring flats. So I always say it about triples. If the coloring flats take me 2 hours to do, it would take me about 6 hours to do the normal flats. So that would probably spend me between the selection and coloring flats would take me about 8 hours. It'd be a full day's worth of work, which is why I'm like I don't want to do both, man. Do you have a tutorial for flats? Yeah, there's a flatting thing somewhere in the art tips. We walked through it. Where is? I don't know if there's a too strict tutorial. I explained the selection flats and the coloring flats here. That that's 17 minutes of explanation. It should cover any of your questions. You know, Brandon can't record anything on his computers because his computers suck so much. It's not like I can record his process for that. Some of my older pieces, I'll do audio commentary during it, but I mean, all you got to remember is, you want the big shapes and then the smaller pieces, and make sure that your lasso tools are set up to that the anti-aliasing is turned off. You don't want any aliased edges. It's not hard, it's just tedious. And then use them because once you start coloring with them, you'll know what you do and don't need, you know. I've seen people who do flats who've never actually colored anything, so they're just doing things because they've never actually had to use that shit they make. Later, dude. I'll stop around 5. I got dinner. I gotta go meet up with some old friends. 5:30. And then when I get done, I'll be back here. I'm gonna finish this tonight, or at least most of it. I'll probably still tinker with it tomorrow. Got plenty to do. Oh, damn it, Brandon. You fucked up. It's getting there slowly. The trick is I'm just trying to get away with like one hard layer and then some soft shading. So it's not overcolored or undercolored. You know? And then the metals can get a bit more of those things. Like, let me take this, select inverse. I don't know. I don't hear nothing. Well, my cat wants his dinner. You can wait 15 minutes. Ah, you're too kind, dude. I don't know if I'm ever like, oh my god, that was amazing. I'm glad when it's over, and that it looks, as long as it sort of holds true to the promise of whatever the roughie was, then I consider that a win. But I've spent a lot of time working on lighting the last couple years, and you know, trying not to overcolor my stuff too. So I don't really. I'll probably be happy when I'm done with the first volume of Game Cave. But even then, there's always gonna be people who are like that should suck. So can never really win. I think the thing is I don't self-deprecate like I just or give myself I don't give myself too much praise or too much grief, you know? Like I know when I've done a good job, but I also know what probably could have gone smoother. No. It's the last thing I'm gonna do, man. It's the last thing on my list. I came this close to not even doing it, but whatever. Right now I'm working on what's gonna be in Game Cave Volume 1 first, so I can get that out my way. Alright, so my plans are one at a time, dude. So This I need to finish between today and tomorrow, and then I have the Final Fantasy VII to work on. Plus, I have the Mega Visions cover to do because they need that. I actually have to go turn down an offer with the publisher because they wanted it by early September, and I just can't, given the move that I just found out I'll be making. So I gotta call them tomorrow. That's not gonna be fun. They never take it well. My goal is to finish Final Fantasy seven, then 9, then the X-Men, and then the remainder of the Power Prints. The Power Pack. And the last thing is Darksiders. Probably take me the remainder of the year to get everything done, the way shit's going. No problem. Peace. All right, so it's about 5 o'clock. So we got a decent amount of work here done. History. Turn it down to 40%. So, what to do? I really gotta like What order should I do this? That's what I want to know. So I got the background that needs to be set up with paints and all that stuff. Kelp, space kelp, all that kind of shit. When that's all done, then I'll get the moon and the rim lighting done, which plus glows and whatnot. No problem. Later, Toby. Later, potato. Just give me a second. How the hell do I want to do this? Like, case in point, I gotta do atmospherics. I think that I definitely have to do. Stuff like this. Just to push them into the background, things like that. So I'll call that Atmo. Okay, so background, lighting, and details. Plus I gotta put the fucking Game Boy game screen and the Tiger handheld screen in. Tons of stuff to do. Tons of stuff to do! On the next SketchCraft, I'm gonna eat some sushi. Peace. Let's see. Sashimi.